as someone who does read and who has read for a long time, because even 2 years ago when you were on the podcast with me, we were talking about your reading, you're listening to a book on the way to train, then you're training in the morning. So you have a frame of reference. I've been asking people this in social settings and on the podcast recently. Do you find that the content in books is a little more watered down now? Hey, it happens, man. It happens. Is a little watered down now because there's so much content that's going out on podcasts instead? Or do you find that maybe those authors are able to kind of flesh things out a little bit so that then when they put it in book form, it's a little more refined, or almost they've worked through it by discussing it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's not how I look at it. To me, it's like there's a lot of content out there, right? The golden rule, like there's no new content on the planet ever, right? Yeah. And a lot of it is regurgitated shit. Like if you go in and read any of my books, like there's other key authors that I've pulled information from and then turned into my own words or changed it around a little bit, right? It's just the way it is. This is just the world we live in. But I get to a point where I have to stop reading the self-development books because I'm like, fuck it, not again. Like, here's this guy talking about this thing. And the last 3 books that I just listened to or read, they all talked about the same bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, how many times am I going to consume this same content, even if it's just written differently?
Sure.
When that happens, and it's usually, it's more frequently now with the more reading that I do.
Yeah.
It's when I know I need to pivot, and I will go and either throw in a fictional book, very infrequent, but I do love biographies. So if I can go listen to a biography, even an autobiography, like, dude, some of the guys on my arm, we got Ben Franklin, we've got George Washington, is it Isaac something or other is the author who does a lot of big writings on these dudes.
Okay.
He did the Steve Jobs book as well. And just go and learn about these magnificent people who've been in history. And I'm a firm believer that history repeats itself.
Sure.
So what can we pick up and learn from this powerhouse of a dude who was alive 200 years ago?
Yeah.
What can I pull from this book of what that man was doing 200 years ago to be successful, and how can I implement that into my life today?
You say that, and I totally agree. And then I compare that to what's happened over like the last 2.5 years in terms of cancel culture, where like if you tweeted something like 5 years ago or maybe made a mistake, then any other good you've done or any other innovation that you've come up with, it just totally gets discredited because you're not like this perfect human, which goes back to that everybody's got a hustle thing.
Yeah.
Like if you think that preacher standing on that stage has never made a mistake or thought a weird thought or whatever, you're smoking that good meth, man. Yep. We're all humans. What biography have you read that stuck with you the most, where maybe you didn't expect it, you're just like, damn, like that's crazy. I can't believe that I got to go back and I never even thought of this person this way. And the biography like opened your eyes to just how bold maybe they were, how much of a revolutionary because we're talking about revolutionaries on your arm there, was there one that like sticks out in your mind?
Not one. I would say small snippets and sections from many. What the hell's the name of the book? Phil Knight from Nike.
Oh yeah,
he has one. I forget what it's called right now. Fantastic book. And like everyone knows who Nike is, and he's an older guy at this point. He's in his 70s or 80s, right? He's the founder of Nike out of the Northwest, just like you.
Yeah.
Right. I never knew the whole story of how the company
the godfather of Oregon athletics. Go Ducks or not. I hate the Ducks, but yeah.
Yeah, but just learning his story and how that man just literally rolled the dice and promised shit where he never even knew if he could make it happen or not. And when I say promise shit, like he was promising shit overseas in Japan and China, and then coming back over here and then making promises, and somehow magically that shit came together and Nike is what it is today.
Man.
But just a crazy ass story.
Just writing checks with his mouth that he had no idea if his ass could cash.
Correct. But you got to understand something. The thing that blew my mind, this is all going down in like the 60s.
Right.
There wasn't a fucking cell phone or an email, dude.
No internet.
Hey,
no Zoom.
I just flew over to Japan.
Right.
We ordered all of these shoes to come in.
Yeah.
And now I head back over to the U.S. I'm going to sit here and wait weeks, and hopefully the fucking shipment arrives.
Crazy.
Like, so you can't even send an email and say, hey, what's the status of my order?
You're just waiting on a freighter.
the only status update you're going to get is you're sending snail mail over there, and you're waiting weeks for it to come back.
Did it talk about all the financial risks he's taken, where he's just robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Yep, a lot of that.
It's nuts. Like the guys who've really changed industries, bro. Nothing was lined up and perfect before they took the leap. They were just like, "Fuck it, man! I'm stepping off this cliff, and if I go splat, then I gave it a shot."
Yeah.
You know, how much is there to be said for living a life like that? You know, your true do-it-yourself life. Yes, you're reaching out to people who've been there. Yes, you're trying to get around people who can give you perspective, teach you the language of success, because that is a language.
Sure.
But at a certain point, you just got to reach down, man, and you got to go, it's in me or it's not. And it's a different life, especially when you start hanging out with other people who are doing it.
It's a tough conversation you have to have sometimes with people as well. They tell you, hey, yeah, I wanna, right? And one thing my mom told me growing up is actions speak louder than words. And man, that is so fucking true.